welcome. You're watching Money 9. I'm Sakshi Patra. Well, the Indian economy has undergone a radical transformation in the last decade. There has been an increasing focus on financial inclusion, which goes beyond banking the unbanked. It actually means providing every citizen the knowledge and the tools that will help them save, invest, and grow their money to live their life goals. And fintech companies have been at the center of this change. On Kaise Bachaye, Kaise Badhaye, we catch up with entrepreneurs in the fintech space that are doing just that, helping you save and to grow your money. Joining in today with me is Mr. Rohit Garg, co-founder and CEO of fintech lending app Smartcoin, which is working to ensure credit is available for the underserved sections of the society. Thank you very much, Mr. Garg, for joining in, and welcome to Money 9.
Thanks a lot, Sakshi. Thanks for inviting us, on the platform and giving us the opportunity to talk to your viewers and tell more about us.
So let's dive right in and help us understand what really pushed you to launch Smartcoin back in 2016, and in the last 5 years, how have you really seen the digital lending space grow in India?
Sure. I'll just add a bit of a background to give you, how this idea came along, right?
Sure.
So I think before starting Smartcoin, I worked quite significantly in the corporate life as well. So I graduated from IT Kanpur and IIM Ahmedabad, and I worked for about close to a decade before starting up. In fact, I spent close to 6 years in London. I was working in global investment banking before I decided to come back to India. And incidentally, I was 3 months away from getting my British passport when I decided, that I should go back to India and start this company, Smartcoin.
Something would have really motivated you then.
Yes, absolutely. So I think, India has been at the cusp of a great revolution. I think, especially, we have seen the whole of last decade, right? I think it started changing people's lives. But at that point, I think what really motivated me and my team was that the initial leg obviously started from the more tech-savvy urban guys and trying to make a difference in their life, whether it was in e-commerce or transport and so on. But we believed, I think, especially growing up in smaller cities, that finance is one of the fundamental bottleneck, right?
Sure.
In anyone's life, like a छोटा shopkeeper hai, he needs some money to get the inventory rolling and increase his business. Someone who is working in a very lower income job, as a security guard or just as a support executive, they need money to deal with medical emergencies, to pay for kids' tuition fees, to just improve their well-being in life. And the problem is none of these guys are ever served by the large institutions because of multiple reasons. And that's where we thought, right? Now technology has changed meaningfully. With smartphones going as deep as beyond tier 4 or even rural areas, and people spending so much time on internet and accessing global services in all the other sectors. So why should financial services lag behind, especially given it's a fundamental sector to someone's well-being? And that's where I thought that something with intersection of technology and focus on the underserved masses will really, I think, change the way we do business in India. So I think that was the initial thought. And yeah, I think now it's been 5 years, I think, on that journey. And proud to say that we have, what we started as a dream, today has taken a big shape of its own. We have a mobile app which anyone in India can download from the Play Store. It's completely free. You can use it to get loans starting as low as 1,000 rupees for, say, emergencies at your home, and going up to 1 lakh rupees for very flexible tenors as it fits you. And we have seen great reception. Like, we believe ki demand pehle bhi people were trying to fulfill to their friends or families or even worse, local lenders, which was not ideal. And we have tried to formalize and create, more flexibility around it. And I think the reception is fabulous. Today, our mobile app has got more than 6 million users across India, including people who are running, small shops, who are micro entrepreneurs, as well as people who are working in blue-grey collar jobs, in semi-organized and organized sector. So we have been able to serve them. Our business has been growing fabulously, and I think it's been a great start. And I believe the next 5 to 10 years are going to be even more tremendous. for this lower middle income segment.
Absolutely. And let's dive a little bit deeper. Of course, you've set the context for us and for all our viewers to help understand what your company really does so that they can identify with these particulars that you've mentioned as well. Now, last 18 months have been particularly unprecedented with this kind of pandemic hitting us. Now, during this time, we also saw people's salaries, incomes, jobs getting impacted. Have you actually been able to see more people reaching out to for say inquiries, more loans during this time? How was this last 18 months period been for you?
Right. So, I mean, you are right. I think, this has been quite unprecedented. And just I think when we thought, I think things are getting better. I think we are seeing, like currently we are hopefully going in a better direction, but obviously we are still dealing with the situation, currently. I think what we have seen is that the demand has always been there. So we are talking of a huge segment, right? I mean, if you look at India, you'll be surprised to know that less than 10% of the top tier segment actually gets served by your large banks and NBFCs. So whatever formal credit gets disbursed in India, more than 70% of that is consumed by less than 10% of India. And the remaining 90% actually gets very less access to credit. And that tells you how big this inequality is, right? So demand has never been a problem. In fact, I think we are talking of almost 40-50 crore people who find it difficult to access formal credit, either because their income is not stable or because they don't have work proof, income proof. Most of these guys work in informal sector. So because of all these reasons, like demand has never been a shortage for us, right? We have seen a bit of an uneven pattern last year. Like the pehle lockdown, so obviously at that point people were more sitting at home. So the demand did dip somewhat, but I think soon after, like towards the end of last year in the second half, when people were now coming out of lockdown trying to rebuild their lives, so I think there was a change in the pattern. I think what actually was more starking was the fact that how these loans were getting used. So we clearly saw that I think around middle of last year after the COVID lockdown, there was a lot of shift in terms of use cases. So medical emergency use cases had risen like across the board. In fact, we had seen greater dip in demand from bigger cities compared to smaller cities. Like we actually, because we have a complete digital, technology-based system, we have created it in-house. So we actually, from our single office in Bangalore, serve across all of India. Like we have given loans in 95% districts in India, as far as Assam, Arunachal, Jammu, Kashmir, pretty much any state or any union territory you need, right? So what we saw, because last year there was an uneven distribution, right? I think the larger cities were more impacted versus the smaller towns. So the demand actually dipped much more in the bigger cities. Smaller cities' demand was more intact. Even among the businessman community, they were also, I think, faring quite well, I think, relatively throughout the pandemic. But I think towards the end of last year, I think November, December onwards, when situation had started to normalize somewhat, we did see, I think, the patterns reverting to pre-COVID levels. Like beach mein travel loans nahi ho rahe the bilkul, but people started to travel again. People were not, trying to purchase a lot for buying new goods or investing a lot in business expansion. But that had again started to happen. So I think things have been a bit uneven, but I think demand-wise, I think they're quite intact, and I think people in India are quite resilient, right? So we are confident that we'll bounce back on that pretty soon.
Okay. Last two questions there, sir. I wanted to understand, you mentioned in your opening comments also that हमारी country में ये देखा जा रहा है कि एक ऐसी situation है कि जब भी जरूरत पड़ती है तो लोग अपने friends, relatives के पास जाते हैं loans लेने के लिए और वो बेहतर मानते हैं इसे when you compare it with the financial institutions. Also, on the other hand, we are seeing this continuous rise in kitties, in committees, which have a huge penetration rather than these formal financial institutions. So what is your take here, and how are companies such as yours, the fintech majors, really fitting in to bridge this gap?
Right, तो काफी इंटरेस्टिंग सवाल है साक्षी. So see, I think उसमें दो चीजें हैं, right? एक तो पहली बात, do we need those things, right? I think one of the big reasons, हमारे पास इतना सारा जो सिस्टम है, BC का सिस्टम है, हुंडी सिस्टम है, like चिट सिस्टम है, right? ये काफी सिस्टम इसीलिए आए कंट्री में क्योंकि फॉर्मल इंस्टीट्यूशन इनको सर्व नहीं कर रहे थे. और जब इतना बड़ा गैप होता है तो people have to find a solution, right? So they create small trusted group जिसमें एक दूसरे की help कर सकते हैं in the right manner. And I think that is why we have seen that the country has grown despite the fact that our financial penetration in general has been, I think, one of the lowest in the world. Not just versus developed countries, अगर आप emerging countries भी देखते हैं versus Brazil, China, lot of other, Asian countries, actually हम लोगों का जो debt penetration है, that's far lower. तो वो चीज obviously work कर रही है, but over time, I think जब तक आप चीजें formalize नहीं करेंगे, आप अपने लोगों के बेस्ट वैल्यू नहीं क्रिएट कर पाएंगे, क्योंकि जब तक वो फॉर्मल सिस्टम में नहीं आएंगे, उनके फुटप्रिंट्स डीपर नहीं होंगे, तो कल लाइफ में जब उनको बड़े लोन्स चाहिए या लाइफ में और ज्यादा आगे जाना है, तो इन सब सिस्टम्स की अपनी एक लिमिट है, राइट? सेल्फ मेड सिस्टम्स है, लेकिन अगर उनको बैंक से राइट क्रेडिट एक्सेस करना है, राइट प्रोडक्ट्स चाहिए, तो आई थिंक इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, एंड दैट्स वेयर आई थिंक बोथ दिस थिंग्स हैव टू वर्क इन पैरेलल. सो हम लोग अभी ऑब्वियसली कोशिश है कि जितना भी इनफॉर्मल डिमांड है, जो लोगों के स्पेशली काफी मजबूरी में फुलफिल करना पड़ता है उनको, लोकल लेंडर्स एट वेरी रैंडम रेट्स एंड अंडर लॉट ऑफ सोशल स्टिग्मा, वो नहीं होना चाहिए. धीरे धीरे लाइक फास्टर वी कैन मूव टू फॉर्मल सिस्टम, it will be win-win for everyone.
Right. And lastly, what is your vision going forward for Smartcoin and for digital lending space? Any challenges that you would really wish to overcome soon? Any regulatory challenges that you are facing right now? What are the things that you're looking at in the next 5 to 10 years as far as you see your vision for your company and the entire industry?
Right. So I think one of the biggest things that we're aiming for, like as I said, I think demand is not a problem in this segment. The biggest problem is, I think India itself is going through a transition period, right? So, say last 4-5 periods, and more so the last couple of years, have been such when I think the digital adoption has accelerated very, very fast, right? So, आज तारीख में एक middle income, lower income, individual भी, they are generating a lot of digital data, and more of this data will make sure कि now they are able to generate that formal data जो पहले नहीं था. What we want to do, we want to make sure कि हम इस डेटा को यूज करके इन लोगों को बेस्ट प्रोडक्ट्स दे पाए और we help them move further in life. So the problem is huge, and our thought is that these people, they are actually underserved across the entire spectrum of financial product. So like when we look at loans, banks typically loan देते हैं 2 लाख 3 लाख 5 लाख के, right, or higher, because below that it does not work for them. But इन लोगों की नीड जो होती है वो sachet products की होती है, 2,000 rupee, 5,000 rupee, 20,000, 50,000 rupees, right? So we sort of innovated on that product for the credit space. But now we are realizing that insurance देखेंगे इन लोगों के लिए, again they cannot pay premium for high ticket insurance product. They need micro insurance product. They need micro saving. So हम लोगों के जो plan है, that is like we have started with this, but over time we want to empower people to manage their financial lives better. And yeah, I think that's our dream going forward.
Absolutely. All the very best to you, sir, then to achieve this dream. I'm sure you will be able to do that, and so that everybody in our country can benefit from all these financial services that so far have not been able to reach out to them as well, so that they can take complete control of their own finances and their own life goals as well. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, Sakshi. Pleasure is mine.
Thank you so much. You too. And with that, we wrap up this edition. Thank you very much for tuning in. A whole lot of more is awaited for you right on the other side, so stay tuned now.